What can you do when your job is threatened by automation, by robots, or other technology? In this video, I show you exactly what you can do. Hi, this is Terry Brock, and I want to talk with you about a very important, very serious topic of what to do when automation or robots or some form of technology is replacing your job. It hurts a lot, and it's affecting a lot of people in today's world. I mean, first of all, if that's one of you and you relate to that, I feel for you. I know where you are. Hey, I grew up in the industrial Midwest, in Michigan, and I worked in the auto industry there, worked with Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, member of Local 185 United Rubber Workers. I was a member of the union and working my way through undergraduate school. I can relate to what you're talking about because it's very tough when you've got a job and you're working and then suddenly, hey, a machine's going to take your place. And many people are saying now, we got to bring these jobs back. We got to do this. Well, the reality is it's not going to happen. Think about it for a moment. Think about the reality. Now, get away from all the politics, get away from all the shouting and the emotions of it. The reality is, throughout history, it's worked this way. People at one time made their living shoeing horses. How many people lost their jobs as blacksmiths, shoeing horses, and other items that they did, other kind of work they did because of automation? The horseless carriage came along. What about farmers? Look how many people were employed in farming at the founding of the United States of America. About 95, 97%, I've heard different numbers on that, were farmers. People that actually lived out there. They grew their own food. They went out hunting and tilling the soil and all that. Today, we don't have that. Would we be better off today if we got rid of the farm equipment that we have? We got rid of the tools that made it easier for one person to till and to maintain many, many acres and went back to the way it was? I don't think so. And I don't think most reasonable people would say that. However, it does hurt when you lose it, and we see what's happening. But, we've got to think about how to do that. I remember a while back I wrote a story about Blockbuster. And Blockbuster across the street from us, matter of fact, right over there, went out of business. Now, you know that Blockbuster went out, and I remember people were saying, oh, gee, what are we going to do? I said, you've got to adapt. You've got to change and even think about, I was saying at this time, look at the ability of downloading videos, doing it that way. Well, of course, now that's how we do it with Netflix, with many other services that are available, doing it that way. But I remember when I wrote that, I got a note, an email from a person who was very concerned, very kind, but he was deriding me just a little bit in a good way, and was saying, Terry, I don't want to know that things are changing. How do we get people to come in and buy and rent these VHS tapes? We've got VHS tapes. This is how I make a living. Well, I wrote back and I said, hey, I understand what you're saying. And I even called the person and talked to them and said, look, you can't keep doing this. You've got to look at other options that are available. Realize the world is changing. He didn't buy it at that time, but by now I'm sure he has. He's probably not running a whole lot of VHS tapes. And so the technology can change. Would it be right to pass a law and say, no, we must keep VHS tapes. You cannot even go to a DVD. And we're not going to allow anything streaming because it would make people lose their jobs. It's not an efficient use of resources. Now, again, for the person who is renting VHS tapes and that's how he or she is making a living, this is tough. I get it. It's very, very hard. However, this is life. It's best when you can accept reality, not the way it should be in some idealistic, unrealistic way, but rather understand what's going on and adapt yourself accordingly, even if it's painful. And so right now, you want to adapt. Matter of fact, let me give you an example of where we are today. Here's a video that shows what robots can do. I just saw this recently at the ITRI. That's the Industrial Technology Research Institute. They had a booth at CES. That's the big trade show put on by the Consumer Technology Association out in Las Vegas. I saw that. They invited me to come to their booth. I talked to some of their top doctors and really, really smart people that were there. They are based in Taiwan, and they put all this together. And notice what the robots can do. Robot playing chess and beating the human beings. People would challenge and think, well, I'm pretty good at chess, etc. They'd sit down, and inevitably the robot would beat them because the robot had the visioning system. Matter of fact, here's what they call it. I got my paper here in the handout they gave us as press. It's the Intelligent Vision System. Think about that. This robot is looking at the pieces on the chessboard. When people move over here and here, the robot registers that and moves accordingly and beats them, picking up the piece, moving it over there, maybe a little bit awkward with the robotic style we have now, but it does the job. Oh, but the robot is also nice enough to reach over. You'll see there was a coffee cup over there, and he would pick up the coffee and he would pour coffee for the person if they wanted it. Would you like some coffee? If they said no, it wouldn't do it. If they said yes, it would pour the coffee. Think about that. Now, the type of technology exists. That is real. They brought it out to say this is not fantasy. It's working. It's here today. That robot can keep going, doesn't take vacations, doesn't get upset, doesn't get mad at the other robots, all of that in a robot. And if we can get a robot to do that, think about the possibilities for taking care of the elderly, taking care of the disabled, or those who are challenged in some way, or those of us that are so dadgum busy we can't keep up with everything. Get a few robots to start doing the mundane tasks, preparing food, juicing. One of the things I like to do is juicing. Gina and I love juicing, but it takes too much time to do it. Well, we could get a robot that would do that eventually. And so you got a robot doing those types of activities. It frees us up. This is what's happened throughout history. Now, you don't want to go back and try to destroy the technology. That's what the Luddites did. Remember those Luddites? Yeah, back in the 19th century, they didn't like it that machinery and looms were taking the jobs of people who were weaving and doing the crafting and building of clothing. And so they would go in and famously would try to destroy the factories, hoping they were going to save jobs. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to look at what's going on and realize, okay, it's going to hurt me. I understand, but I'm going to learn new skills. Let me go to that person who I don't know who it was and didn't keep track of him, who was operating in the Blockbuster store, selling and renting mainly VHS tapes. I don't know, but I got a feeling that person's doing something else today. Go out and get other skills. Find out what it is. The world is changing constantly. Learn new skills. Right now, if you can program, you can do well. Folks out in Silicon Valley are desperately looking for people who have high skills that can program in PHP or Ruby on Rails and many other languages. I mean, whatever the current language is, they need people that have that. It might take you about 6 months to a year to learn that skill, but you can do that now online. Think about enrolling in a course in a community college or through some other place. Get out and get a job working at it and get a mentor to help you on it. Read a lot of books. Go to YouTube and watch it. By aggressively learning and embracing this, you can overcome it. So my news today is it's good news that even with robots playing chess and doing those wonderful things that we see from the Industrial Technology Research Institute and showing us what is possible, you can overcome that because there's going to be areas where human beings are going to be needed. And we don't have that. Now, once you've learned how to program, do you think we're going to get robots to do some programming later? Probably. You got to keep jumping ahead. That means you continue to learn. And by the way, here's a side benefit of that. For someone who might be in, say, their late 50s or early 60s, they're thinking of retiring, but now all of a sudden, boom, rug's pulled out in front of them. The idea of retirement is really kind of a quaint mid-20th century concept. Back in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century, 18th century, they never heard of that concept of word, you just retire. I mean, very, very seldom, if ever. Instead, they kept re-engaging. That's the key. Re-engaging, learn new skills. Look at learning new skills as just an important part of life today and the future. Keep learning. And by the way, keep stretching your mind and body. Get healthcare professionals around you. Get professionals that can help you to do the right thing in the right way based on your needs and where you are. Keep learning. Just because you did something years ago in school, it's not there. I've heard people that say, Earl Nightingale used to talk about this. People would say, well, I studied history in school. I studied English when I was in school, as if it were an inoculation. No, you don't do it once and then you're finished with it. You keep going. And so the good news is you get to stay fresh and young and you get to stay alert and alive. That's the way to do it. Can we keep providing jobs of shoeing horses? No. I'm sorry. The horseless carriage came long ago and got rid of a lot of those jobs. Matter of fact, most all of them. There are a few, but not very many. And so you've got to adapt. Learn, find what is new, build on the skill set that you have right now to something else. This is something that I talk about in coaching that I do. I can help you maybe in certain areas. If you'd like to talk, give me a holler. Let's see if we can have a good match. I'd love to offer you a way to help. No charge, by the way. I offer a strategy session at no charge. Want to help you to explore what's available. And if you're in business and you say, gee, we just need to get more people. We need to attract people. We need to learn about this video technology. We need to learn about Facebook Live or Zoom. Those are areas where I can help you. Drop me an email, terry@terrybrock.com, and I'll look forward to hearing from you and would love to help you. So the encouraging and the good news is if you're being faced with automation and robots or others are threatening to take your job, the technology is something you're fearful of, let's talk. Let's see what we can do. And again, no charge. Just give me a holler, terry@terrybrock.com. We can set up a time and talk about it. And if it's possible and it works out right, we have coaching and other services that are available for you. So I will look forward to hearing from you. And by the way, please, please take this message and share it with others. Many people need to hear this message because it's a message of hope. It's not a message of despair. It's a message of, hey, look at reality. And the good news is, you can do better. You can learn something new. I'm continually doing that in my job, teaching technology. I started years ago teaching one kind of technology that barely exists today. Now it's new, and we have to keep learning new. We keep refreshing and rejuvenating, and that's a great way to live. Hey, I'm Terry Brock. Thank you very much for joining me.